Anytime we can get started. Okay. Good morning. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their telephone, their computer, or a tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry, and when your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Panel members participating today are Danny Bellissimo, Sophia Ruddick, Neil Palmer, and Donald Taylor. And I'm Michael Clark, and I'm the panel chair. All registered participants will be participating by audio only. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaws that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, your email address, and your address, because Committee of Adjustment, in the event of an appeal, TLAB, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure is as follows. I will call each item in the order listed in the agenda. We do not vet the agenda in the virtual world like we do in the in-person world. We will deal with deferrals at the outset of the session. So when an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with the presentation if desired. Where the committee does not require presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to address the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant and agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. And I believe we may be trying some kind of a showing the clock up on the board today. We'll see, in which case everyone will see the time. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes, and so when you're addressing the committee, please start off by clearly stating your name and address for the record, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent goes first and makes a presentation to the committee of the application in a contested matter. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised in order to ensure the application is both accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application have been informed of the changes. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker at the end of their submissions, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent is given an opportunity, another 5 minutes, to rebut any issues or answer any questions that were raised by the speakers. And that will then mark the end of the discussion on a matter, and the matter is then taken into committee for a decision. Before we get started, some housekeeping. I believe, do we have a set of minutes to approve from the last hearing?
I don't know that those have been reviewed yet, so they may have to wait for January.
Okay.
But if we can adopt the 2022 schedule of hearing dates.
Okay, can I have a motion to, we've all been sent the hearing dates for the coming year. Can I have a motion to adopt those?
Danny Bellissimo moves.
Thank you, Mr. Bellissimo.
Danny Bellissimo.
Seconded by Ms. Ruddick. Thank you. All in favor? The schedule for 2022 is approved. Okay. Staff and panel, are there any declarations of interest for the matters before us in this morning's agenda? Okay, none to declare. Okay, in which case we can deal with, there are 3 deferrals. It looked like they were, the first 2 were requested by staff, and now the applicant/agent is now requesting that as well. So the first item we'll call is 89 CRENDON Drive. It's an application for a detached dwelling with attached garage with 2 variances. Planning was requesting deferral. The applicant is now also requesting deferral for a zoning review as they may have missed some variances. Is the applicant, I believe the speaker on this application is Reza Shekavadi, and as well as we have a neighbor from, hello, we have also a neighbor we'll listen to as well. Sorry, number 9, it's Hank Nata. That was, I said it, number 8. So we just have Hank Nata, the agent.
Thank you. I'm Hank Nada, the agent for item number 9, 89 CRENDON Drive, and we are asking to defer
Okay.
as we are seeking application for a zoning review.
Okay. Members, can I have a motion to defer the item? Mr. Bellissimo.
Danny Bellissimo so moved.
Ms. Ruddick, thank you for seconding that. All in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred. Mr. Nada, we'll see you here in the new year sometime.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone. Goodbye.
Okay, and the next one is item number 13, 116 Regent Street. This is for additions with 8 variances, and we have planning also requesting a deferral, condition number 2 to review, etc. And now the agent is also asking for a deferral. Agent for this matter is Graham Barrett. Mr. Barrett, welcome.
Good morning, committee members, Mr. Chair. You are correct. I'm requesting a deferral. Planning staff had some concerns. We've made revisions, and my client has wisely decided to get an updated zoning notice rather than proceeding on a waiver. So we'll be back in the new year.
Okay, thank you. Motion to defer.
Motion to defer is requested.
Thank you, Ms. Ruddick. Seconded by Mr. Bellissimo. Thank you. All in favor? The matter is deferred. We'll see you here in the new year, Mr. Barrett. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Same to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, and then I'll move over to item number 19, I believe it is, 1 FRANKWOOD Drive. For additions, 8 variances, and we have the agent requesting a deferral request, both in our package and again in our additional materials. Planning was recommending refusal, that it didn't meet the prevailing character, so. The agent on this application is Elena Lecheva. Ms. Lecheva?
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, we're asking for deferral and working with the community planning to reach an agreement.
Okay, very good. Members, can I have a motion to defer? Mr. Taylor? Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll move deferral to enable consultation with community planning.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer, thank you for seconding that. All in favor? Okay, matters deferred. Thank you, Ms. Lecheva. We'll see you here in the new year.
Thank you, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Okay, so I believe that's all. Those are the 3 deferral requests. And so we can go back to item number 1 and start hearing applications. The item number 1 is 14 Durban Road. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. And there are 4 variances. There were 6. We have the revised yellow highlighted revision page. As well, we have obviously the revised plans and waiver, cover letter, supporting material, previous decision from January 2016. And there were revisions. There's a planning memo which echoes or refers to changes that were made. The applicant has made changes pursuant to the request of planning. And we have opposition from number 16 Durban. Registered to speak, we have the agent David Lang, as well as the neighbor from 16 Durban who wrote in, is here to address the committee as well. Urban Forestry is also requesting condition number 2. And in the, just a question for staff, in the additional materials received yesterday, we have a revised notice. Just want to confirm that that is what's before us. It looks like they rounded up the coverage from 36.6 to 37%. So perhaps we can first hear from staff as to what is the appropriate, what are we hearing here, 36.6 or 37? We have Barb on the line, or Phil.
Sorry, yes.
Yes, we have in the additional materials, it looks like they rounded up the lot coverage to 37. So I think before we hear this, whether we should be looking at this yellow highlighted or the one that was provided to us in the additional materials.
Yeah, if it can be rounded to 37 if that's what's on the zoning review.
Okay, yeah,
It's
no,
still
yellow
less than
package, I don't have,
to make that point.
perhaps you can put the other one on the screen, Annalisa, as well, just next to it, or is it the same and they've only rounded it up at the same 119.75 square meters for the lot coverage? And perhaps David Lang can opine on that as well. So let's hear from David Lang as the first speaker, and we do have a neighbor here with concerns and opposition. Good morning, Mr. Lang. Mr. Lang.
Yes.
You want to go ahead? You have make a presentation.
Oh, sure.
Maybe we do have someone here in
I wasn't
opposition.
sure if you had a question. All right. Yep.
Please, if you can advise us what we're looking at, the revised yellow or the one on the additional materials in terms of the rounding up of variance number 1.
Yeah, no, that's correct. I wasn't sure when I sent it in after getting it from the zoning examiner whether that was okay, but yes, 37% would be correct.
Okay.
So as you can see from the latest plans, our application is proposing to construct a new 2-story detached home over the same general footprint of the existing 1-story home. The plan has been revised from the original submission as per recommendations from the planning department asking for a reduction in certain variances. The updated zoning notice and zoning waiver should confirm that we're now asking for relief on the revised variances for coverage and floor space index. The variances for length and second floor platforms have both been eliminated, and the variances for height and side yard setbacks are unchanged. The variances for coverage and floor space index are mostly required due to the restricted lot size as noted in the planning report dated December 1st. Many properties and homes in the immediate area are relatively larger in size. For comparison, the proposal at 14 Durban is more in line with the recent approvals for 2 new homes around the corner at 28 and 30 Durban Road, which are similar in scope and size. While the variances for coverage and FSI appear to be at the upper end among past decisions in the area, we feel that the actual gross area of the new home is a modest proposal for the smaller lot size. The variance for the side yard setbacks has been established by shifting the actual footprint of the home away from the east property line. The existing home is approximately 0.62 meters from the east property line, and we've moved it further away to 0.9. At the same time, the new setback on the west side has been reduced to 0.9 meters in an effort to maintain equal setbacks and accommodate the new attached garage. The last variances are related to height, as the owner was interested in proposing a modern design. The additional height is a common variance in modern home design where the exterior main walls extend up beyond the typical soffit heights found on traditional pitched roofs. We understand the height restriction from the original zoning bylaw is substantially lower, but we feel that the additional overall height is appropriate for the design concept. Having said that, the height was not a concern when discussing the project with the planning department. I understand the neighbor is logged in today. I believe that the owner tried to contact them several times to confirm that we had revised the application, have a discussion with them. As far as I know, they were not actually able to get a hold of them, so I guess they can comment further on that. Otherwise, we feel that the required variances are minor in nature. and the proposed work is appropriate development for the property. Your consideration is appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lang. Just reviewing the neighbor's question. I had the same question. We'll hear from them because I don't know if they're aware that you have made substantial revisions which are acceptable to community planning, reducing the lot coverage from 51% to 37%, reducing the floor space index, and eliminating the platform variance, which they were concerned with as well. So let's hear from.
Sorry, can I just make one more quick note?
Sure.
I noticed on file there was a past decision for this property for the coverage already at about 36%. We're essentially just asking for a very, very minor uptick on that item. I just noticed that yesterday.
So yeah, the previous decision was January 2006. I don't know. Was that? Do you know if that was built?
I'm not totally sure. That's from the previous owners.
Yeah, it was a one-story addition. So if this was approved, then it was a long time ago. But that one gave a coverage of 36.84.
84.
That
Yeah.
was for the main, and that's with the main building of 33%. So okay, so that's another matter.
Okay, thank you.
For the committee members to be aware of. Okay, so let's hear then from I don't know if it's either James or Mirella Stinson, who will be speaking.
Yes, James Stinson. I'll be speaking on behalf of my wife as well. So I'm the owner of 16 Durban Road.
Yep, we have your letter.
Yes, 16 Durban Road. That made that 4B3. Yes, I have. It is the corner property situated to the east, right next door to the proposed development. And yes, I have gone through the files, and I know that there was an original plan and then a second plan. So my previous letter of objection was to the original plan, but I wish to also object to the revised plan on the following grounds. The applicant is requesting variances for height, lot coverage, floor space, and side yard setback. Together, these are excessive for a lot as small as the one in question. The most drastic one requested is the height variance, which exceeds the maximum allowed for both Etobicoke and Toronto zoning bylaws. 14 Durban has a lot size which is substantially smaller than the others on the street and in the neighborhood. So I feel that granting variances at the upper end of previous decisions, as the applicant has requested, will alter the streetscape in a negative fashion. The size of the proposed building will not be in proportion to the size of the lot. Furthermore, the size, mass, height, and bulk of the proposed development will have a negative impact on our ability to enjoy our property. As a corner lot, our patio, kitchen, window, and gardens will be shadowed by the new dwelling, eliminating sunlight, space, and openness. The shadowing on the west side of our property will also potentially create problems with drainage due to the loss of sunlight. A raised rear deck is also included in the new plan, which will create an overview of our patio area, creating a lack of privacy. A rear deck on grade would be a more suitable addition to a house bordering a corner property's patio. So that is all I have. Thank you to the committee for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Stinson. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Stinson? Okay, if no questions for Mr. Stinson, we'll go back to Mr. Lang for his rebuttal.
Right. So again, we tried to contact the owner several times to have this discussion with them, to go over the current plan with them, and I understand some of the things that they're asking for. The main item when we were talking to the planning department was the understanding that this lot in particular is quite restricted, and the overall gross floor area that we're asking for was quite modest relative to other approvals in the area, and we kept referring to the properties that were approved at a severance at 28 and 30 Durban. In fact, the scope and size of our project is almost identical. And again, it's there's currently the house that's there now is a bungalow. So constructing a new two-story addition would have an impact on light. I don't think that's avoidable, although the properties are lined up north-south. And then I think they had a question about drainage, but I wasn't quite sure what they were asking for. We're not planning to make any significant changes to the grading other than what's permitted to existing grading conditions. I think that's it. I'm trying to think of everything else they were asking there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lang. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Lang at this point, or Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, question for Mr. Palmer here. Sir, the setback to number 16, what is it currently and what is the proposal? So your side yard setback on the lot on the side adjacent to number 16.
Currently?
Currently, and what's proposed?
It's 1.96 currently. There's currently a driveway there for legal parking. And when we propose the new footprint, we're going to take that space back and it will be reduced to 0.9. You can actually see, I've outlined the existing house there in a dashed line, if that helps.
Sorry, I asked.
Yeah, I think Mr. Palmer,
what you stated was number 12. But that's helpful. But number 16, I believe on the as-built survey, it shows it at 0.6, 0.62, 0.61 maybe. Is that correct?
Oh, 16, sorry, I'm looking at I've got the plan upside down. Yep. Yeah, so the house currently on that side is 0.62, and we'll be moving the house away to 0.9.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Lang or for Mr. Stinson, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I find the variances requested to be in keeping with the 4 tests under the Planning Act. I think it's notable, as Mr. Palmer raised, that the side yard situation on the east side is actually being improved for the owner of number 16. I move approval subject to urban forestry condition number 2. And my approval is with respect to the revised application with the 37% rounded up lot coverage.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. We have a seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion. Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Stinson. Thank you, Mr. Lang. And,
thank you.
Okay, we can move on to the second application, item number 2, 25 Branch Avenue. This is an application to construct a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, a new front porch and a new rear deck. And there are 3 variances. We have supplemental materials, renderings. We have the Long Branch performance guideline checklist been completed, and we have a petition in support with 10 signatures. The speaker for this application is Mark Lilly, the agent for the applicant.
Good morning. I'm Mark Lilly, agent for the owner at 25 Branch Avenue.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
So
Do you want me to make a presentation?
Well, I see you attached a rendering in your supporting materials with the 2 dotted lines, I guess, intended to show the elevation or the height. If you can perhaps, we can get that on the screen. If perhaps you could just go through that drawing as to what the, want to just walk through that. Next page, I guess, no? There we go.
Yeah, basically those 2 lines are just part of that elevation to show our relationship to some of the other buildings on the street with regards to the front entrance height from the street and from some of the canopy, the front entrance canopy that we have that is also similar to both the 2 neighbors as well.
Okay, and there's no, by that drawing a little confused, there's no below grade garage situation there. It's not a reverse slope.
No, that garage is an existing garage and it is located in the basement. So this house enters at grade and you go up half a flight of stairs to the existing ground floor and you go down half a flight of stairs to the basement, which is also the garage.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Lilly? Or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? There's no other speakers, no opposition.
Danny Bellissimo would like to make a motion. Find that the variances are minor in nature. Move for approval of the variances before us. Thank you.
Thank you. No conditions. Seconder for Mr. Bellissimo's motion. Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? And unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Lilly.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Items 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're having a special 4-for-1 here today. Looks like these are all identical applications before the committee, each for a detached dwelling with an attached garage with 3 variances. We have a previous decision from an OMB decision from 2015. We have updated drawings, municipal numbering revisions, ravines, a natural feature protection has a condition of approval. They're condition 1 on all 4 of those applications. And the speaker for this application is the agent, Victor Gutberg, as well as we have neighbors from 60 Emmett Avenue and 25 Payson Avenue. Okay, so they'll be just here to observe and listen in. That's fine. So we just have the agent and one party with comments. And urban forestry and condition number 1, we have in the additional materials, urban forestry is requesting condition number 1 again on all of these applications. And we do have an arborist report, I believe, on item number 519 Verona. So we'll hear those all together. Mr. Gutberg?
Yes, I'm here. Good
Welcome.
morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Victor. My name is Victor Gilbert. I'm an architect and I'm an agent for all 4 applications.
Okay.
So basically, as you had mentioned, this subdivision been approved by Ontario Municipal Board in 2015, after which the previous owner entered into development agreement with City of Toronto. And basically, in our design process, we were following the design development footprints. So basically, there was attachment, site plan attachment to development agreement, showing quite generic, showing just footprints of the houses with all the setbacks. So we followed those footprints. We designed our houses in line with what was approved and accepted by City of Toronto and Municipal Board. Municipal Board actually implemented development standards for this property, overruling provisions of zoning bylaw, both new Toronto bylaw and old City of York bylaw 183. Yeah, so basically, as I mentioned, we followed those footprints and development standards, but when we applied for zoning certificate, examiner found that we still have to comply with bylaw provision for setback from top of slope. So the way this property is, the topography of this property is basically the top of slope runs along the Verona Avenue. So you can see on this drawings, it's a waved line along Verona Avenue. And obviously, keeping all the required setbacks for rear front and side yard setbacks, we are not able to comply with 10 meters setback from stable top of slope as required in the bylaw. I think the reason I was difficult just to understand why it's still the variance, but it was going for half a year back and forth with city lawyers and planning staff. So basically, the consensus was that I guess bylaw in 2015 was under appeal, and this particular variance was not spotted at the time. Yes, so basically we are dealing with, in my opinion, mostly like a technical variance. I knew we'd have to deal with conservation authorities who regulates stable top of slopes, and we approached them about a year ago. They conducted site visit. They actually applied for permit. They suggested that we apply just for one house, number 25, because this one is most critical. And they are tentatively supported our proposal subject to urban ravine approval. The first variance in the list dealing with small balcony proposed in all 4 houses. So again, this variance was not spotted at the time, and it was not part of development standards approved by municipal board. That's why it basically goes in zone examiner point of view, it goes on top of what was approved by municipal board in 2015. We worked with city staff on these issues and made some clarifications they were concerned about, and I guess they eventually supported our application as well. Yeah, so this concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I would be more than glad to answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goodberg. Does anyone have any questions for the agent at this point?
Just one quick question. Sir, the lots are created already?
Yes, they are created already. Municipal addresses are assigned to each lot. So basically, applicant paid applicable fees related to subdivision. And yeah, that's, as I said, like we were ready to go for building permit, but last minute we realized, applying for zoning review, we realized that we have those outstanding variances. But
Okay,
lot, yes, created.
Mr. Taylor?
Sorry, yeah, I have a question. I noticed there are no variances requested for the size of the rear decks. Can we presume that they are 4 meters squared or less in size?
Well, the rear decks are actually at ground floor level. As far as I know, the 4 meters square in size restriction related to the decks above first floor, but all our balconies are at ground floor.
But they are 4 meters squared in size or less?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll hear from the neighbor at 60 Emmett. Derek Neves.
Hey there. Actually, we just registered just to spectate. We didn't know it was going to be on YouTube, so yeah. We have no questions or concerns.
Okay, thank you, sir. I see where you're located on a location map, just further down the street.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no need for a rebuttal. In that case, is anyone ready to weigh in with the motion? Again, this will relate to all 4 properties, and we have conditions requested by Ravines and by Urban Forestry, condition number 1. Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chair, I did not notice an urban forestry condition number 1. I did notice ravine.
Yeah, I think it was in our additional materials received yesterday.
Oh, okay.
It is from ravine, condition number 1. They just look very similar.
Oh, so there isn't also an urban forestry condition number 1?
No, it's just from ravine protection.
Oh, okay. Stand corrected.
Well, I'm prepared to table a motion, Mr. Chair. I find the variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to ravine condition number 1. And this approval applies to items number 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, thank you. We have a seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion. Mr. Bellissimo, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Goodberg. Okay, yeah, we're going to move on to number 7, but if I could just ask staff to, perhaps we can get the heat increase in the room. I see staff is all wearing their winter coats. Okay, thank you. I was waiting for you to get back. I didn't know that's why you left, because it's about 10 degrees in here. Okay, item number 7, 45 PAULART Drive. It's an application to construct a 2-story rear addition, a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling. There are 3 variances. And we have an arborist, the site plan and arborist report. Planning has given us a report for information. given the revised lot coverage and the GFA reduction that they refer to. Additional materials, we have support from number 43 right next door. And that's all we have. Urban Forestry is requesting condition number 2. Speaker for this application is Arben Shbadi.
Yes, I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello?
Hello,
Yep.
Mr. Shbadi. Yeah, I don't believe we need a fulsome presentation on this. We have the planning report for information. Would you like to advise committee members of anything?
No.
Okay, well, let's see if anyone has any questions for you then. Any questions for the agent? And if not, if someone's ready for a motion.
Any Bellissimo's ready to make a motion if no questions? I find that the variances are minor in nature and move for approval of the variances and the conditions set up with forestry is item condition 2.
Okay, thank you. Seconded for Mr. Bellissimo's motion. Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor? The application is granted unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Shbadi. We'll see you again. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Okay,
Happy holidays.
item number 8 is 2 MULVEY Avenue. And this is an application to construct a 2-story rear addition and a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling. There are 4 variances. And we have opposition from 29 Halliburton, who's given us a photo, advised it's almost completely framed and windows are going in. We'll hear about that. So we do have the agent, Reza Shekhavadi, as well as the neighbor from 29 Halliburton registered to speak on this application.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we tried to reach the neighbor, but we were unable to reach them to join.
Okay. We do have the neighbor's letter before us. So let's hear from the agent. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Reza Sekavati, and I'm the authorized agent of the owner of the 2 MULVEY, and our application is a minor variance application for the 4 items that is mentioned in the application, and I believe that they are really minor in nature and not much to say about them, really.
Okay. Before I see if committee members have any questions, I just want to clarify something. In fact, we have the neighbor 29 with comments, with registered to speak. The letter was from 24 Halliburton. So in fact, the letter is not the same party that was registered to speak. So we don't know what 29's concerns are. Okay, any questions for the agents, or is someone ready for a motion?
Any Bellissimo's ready for a motion? I find the variances are minor in nature and move for approval of the variances. I believe there are no conditions.
Okay, thank you. Seconded for that. Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Shibadi.
Thank you very much, and happy holidays.
Okay, number 9 has been deferred, so we'll move over to item number 10. Number 10 is 100 McDonald Street. It's an application for a new detached dwelling with an attached garage with 3 variances. There were 4 variances. We have the revised yellow highlighted notice sheet, as well as revised waiver and plans. Planning has a condition of approval that it be built substantially in accordance with the plans as relate to the front, side, rear main wall heights. And forestry is asking for a refusal to denied variances 4 and 5. In the additional materials, we did receive support from 51 and 1-102 McDonald. And the speaker on this application is David Eagleman, agent for the applicant. No other speakers registered.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. Would the committee like a presentation of the application?
I don't think we need a full, maybe we just want to walk through the changes that you made, which are before us in the revised. We've eliminated the first floor height variance and just indicate if you're okay with, well, yeah, we have the denial request from Urban Forestry. So perhaps you can touch on that as well as the revisions you've made to bring this application more in line. It looks like you eliminated that one variance.
Yes, so through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to note that public notice was issued for this application in order to satisfy community planning staff. As noted within their report for this application dated December 2nd, 2021. The revision to the proposal has reduced the height of the first floor above established grade to compliant, which has eliminated variance number 2 as per the public notice hearing.
Oops.
Proposal be constructed substantially in accordance with the plans submitted December 2nd, 2021, and this condition is acceptable. I am also aware of Urban Forestry's comments regarding this application, in which they recommend that the committee refuse variance number 3 and number 4 on the basis that the approval of these variances will result in the injury or removal of a bylaw protected tree. Although Urban Forestry is recommending refusal of variance number 3 and number 4, they do recommend standard condition number 1 if the committee were to approve this application today, and this condition is acceptable. Even with an approval of this application, without Urban Forestry conditions, a permit to injure or destroy any regulated tree would still be required prior to the issuance of a building permit. I would also like to note, as you've mentioned, Mr. Chair, that we do have support from the adjacent neighbor at 102 McDonald Street in support of this application. And I would just note that in regards to Urban Forestry's comments about variance number 3 and number 4, I will note that the tree that they discuss in their report for this application is located in front of the front lot line, and variance number 3 and number 4 pertain to the proposed front entrance platform, but both variances would not result in a platform that would go further towards that tree, because that tree is located to the front, and both variances are related to the width and the setback of the platform, not its length, and as such it would not be getting any closer to the bylaw protected tree at the front of the dwelling than what would be permitted as of right. So based on this, I'm of the opinion that this proposal fits in with the existing and planned context for the neighborhood, is consistent with redevelopment trends along McDonald Street and the broader neighborhood context. And for these reasons, I believe the application represents good planning and meets the 4 tests under Section 45(1) of the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Eagleman. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Eagleman, or is someone ready for a motion?
Danny Belisma just has a question for clarification. The said tree in the front, I'm looking at your survey, and it looks like that platform is on grade, and really, I don't see how it's going to injure the tree. Is your opinion that the tree will not be injured as a result of the construction in the front?
Through you, Mr. Chair, and to respond to Member Belismo's comments, I'm not an arborist. I'm a planner, so I cannot speak to what exactly will take place in terms of injury or tree removal. However, as I've noted, the variances requested would have no impact on the injury or destruction of a tree, because it won't bring the proposed front porch platform closer to that bylaw protected tree than what would be permitted as of right.
Thank you.
Okay, Anyone have any other?
I'm
concerns or
prepared for a
questions?
motion. I think the applicant's given a good explanation of the revisions and the requested variances. I think the variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act. So I move for approval subject to forestry condition number 1 and actually planning conditions that they be built substantially in accordance, I guess, with the December 2nd plans regarding the wall height.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Seconder for that motion. Mr. Bellissimo, thank you. All in favor? The application is unanimously approved. Thank you, Mr. Eagleman. Don't go away because I see you're the agent on the next application as well. So item number 11, 11 South Kingsley Drive. It's an application to construct a partial 3rd-story addition, a covered front porch, and a 2-story front and rear additions. There are 2 variances. We have a revised notice sheet. Sorry, there are 3 variances now in the revised notice. There were only 2 in the original notice. There has been recirculation on this application. There are 3 variances. We have a previous decision from October 2006. Different owners. I'm going to ask the applicant whether that was built or not. We have a covering letter with from the agent with photos and a petition in support. And it looks like the revised notice review, there was an error to correct an error by the zoning examiner, so there has been re-notification, and we also have an arborist report. The speaker for this application as head is David Eagleman, and no other speakers. Mr. Eagleman, welcome back.
Good morning again, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we just lost you for a second. On your last application, we lost you for like 2 different points in 3 seconds. I don't know if the members were able to hear you. Members, was there any gap in Mr. Eagleman's last presentation? There was 2 instances during his presentation for about 3 seconds. We couldn't hear him here in the council chamber, but hopefully you were able to hear him. Okay, so please proceed. I don't think we need a fulsome presentation on this. If you want to just, anything you'd like to advise the committee of regarding these 3 variances, and we have urban forestry requesting condition number 2. If you're sort of okay with those conditions, and there's anything you'd like to advise the committee members. And yeah, if you can advise whether this, the approval in October 2006, if that was built or not.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, my apologies about the connection issues. We've just been having some issues at the office, but regarding the application, I would like to note that community planning staff have no concerns with the application, and a number of neighbors are in support of the proposal, including both adjacent neighbors at 9 and 15 South Kingsley Drive. I have reviewed urban forestry comments regarding this application, in which they recommend standard condition number 2, and this condition is acceptable. In regards to the previous decision, I was not involved in that application, nor do I know if the dwelling was constructed as per that previous decision from 2006. However, I don't believe that previous decision has any effect on the proposal that is in front of you today. The variances are very minor. As I said, planning staff have no concerns. We have a number of neighbors in support, and based on the provided justification, I'm of the opinion that this proposal is consistent with redevelopment trends along South Kingsley Drive, and I believe this application represents good planning under Section 45(1) of the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eagleman. Any questions for Mr. Eagleman, or is someone ready to make a motion?
Danny Bellissimo is ready to make a motion. I found that the proposal has been vetted seriously for a long time and has good results, and I find that the variances are minor in nature. And move for approval of the variances on condition of forestry, condition number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. Seconder for that motion. Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor? Another unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Eagleman. Happy holidays to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll actually see you later today.
Okay. Okay, our next application is item number 1215 Fairmar Avenue. It's an application for a, okay, yeah, one-story rear addition, a second-story addition above the existing garage. There are only 2 variances. We have absolutely nothing on file, no comments from city departments or from area residents other than urban forestry condition number 2. We do have urban forestry condition number 2, and the speaker is Mark Lilly, back again. Mr. Lilly, welcome back.
Hi, good morning again.
Yep. Very straightforward application. We don't need a presentation. Would you like to advise the committee of anything before we see if everything is, if they have any questions?
Yeah, the only comment I want to make is that obviously the side yard setback requirement is as a result of building on top of an existing garage structure that's already there. So that's the reason that we are specifically asking for that exemption.
Okay, thank you. And you're okay with urban forestry condition number 2, I take it?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Any questions, panel members, for the applicant, the agent? And if not, are we ready for a motion?
I can move a motion to approve this application, subject to urban forestry condition number 2, find it to be minor in nature and meets the 4th test.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. Any, we have a seconder for Ms. Reddick's motion.
Tony Bellissimo.
Thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Lilly.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item 13 has been deferred. So perhaps before we go to item number 14, perhaps we can take a 10-minute break. I think we're well ahead of schedule to finish by noon and have our 1-hour break before the 1 p.m. So 10-minute break to go stand by a heater. So we'll see everyone back here in 10 minutes. Okay, welcome back. We're on item number 14. 158 Fifth Street. It's an application for a detached dwelling with a rear basement walkout, a new detached garage, and in the rear yard. There are 3 variances. All we have is urban forestry requesting conditions 1 and 2. We have an agent's presentation, and the speaker is Ida Evangelista as agent for the applicant. Welcome, Mrs. Evangelista.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. Ida Evangelista on behalf of the owners of 158 Fifth. I submitted all documentation. Would you like a presentation or questions?
Okay, why don't we just, we see your presentation materials here. Perhaps we can get them up on the screen and see if committee members have any questions for you. Based on the, and all we have is urban forestry, no other departments or neighbors with comments. Committee members?
Mr. Chair, I have reached out to the neighbors and everyone is okay with the application.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any questions for the agent, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied the requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer, seconding that? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, I think it's unanimous. I don't see Sophia Ruddick on the screen, so.
Bill Marker is absent for this item.
Okay, so motion carries. The application is approved. Thank you, Mrs. Evangelista.
Thank you. Wishing you all a happy holidays.
Same to you. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 15 is our next application, 54 Rayside Drive. It is an application to construct a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, top up. There are 3 variances, and all we have is support from both adjacent neighbors at 56 and 52 Rayside. The speaker for this application is Natalia Yaremchuk.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Natalia Yaremchuk, and I'm the owner of 54 Rayside Drive.
Okay, very straightforward application. I see you have both your adjacent neighbors in support and nothing else on file.
Yes.
So committee members, I don't think we need a presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Yaremchuk? And if not, is someone ready for a motion?
Denny Bellissimo is ready to make a motion.
Okay.
I find that the variances are minor in nature and move for approval of the variances. No conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. Seconder for that motion. Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Yaremchuk.
Thank you. Have a
have
nice
your approval.
holidays.
Thank you. Okay, item number 16 is our next application, 111 Fred Young Drive. This is to construct a deck in the rear yard. We have a previous decision from 2008, and we have ravines and natural feature protection with no conditions. And that's all we have. Speaker for this application is Rock Kim, as well as we have the neighbor at 119 Fred Young Drive registered to speak as well. Welcome, Mr. Kim.
Hi, my name is Rocky, on the behalf of the owner of the 111 Fred Young, right?
Yes. Would you like to advise the committee members of anything before we see what the concerns of the neighbor are?
I don't know. You need any presentation for this? This is for the rear yard.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's see if committee members just have any questions. Very simple, just to create construct a deck in the rear yard. No questions? If no questions, is someone ready for a motion? There are no conditions.
Yes, there's one neighbor.
Oh, right. My apologies. Right, we do have a neighbor from 119, Fred Young. So let's hear from that neighbor and hear what the concerns are.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there.
Can you just give us your
Yeah,
name and
good,
address
good,
for the
good
record,
morning.
please? Yes.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Ibrat Bari, and my address is 119 Fred Young Drive. So I'm actually a neighbor to the owner, Goran, who resides at 111 Fred Young Drive. And I just wanted to give you guys a call and lend my support for my neighbor in constructing his rear deck. So I'm all for it, all for support.
Okay, so then you're very nice of you to weigh in and stay on the line to give support to your neighbor. So I assume there's no questions for the
Nope,
speaker, and
not at the moment.
no need for a rebuttal on that as well. Committee members, any questions either for the neighbor or the applicant, or is someone ready for a motion on this application?
Danny Belisson's ready to make a motion. I find that the variance is minor in nature. I move for approval. Variance is no conditions.
Thank you. Seconder for that motion? Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kim. And thank you.
Thank you for the approval. Yeah.
Okay. Next application is item number 17, 50 Arcadian Circle. It's an application to legalize and to maintain the second-story platform and parking deficiency. There are 3 variances. We have supporting material. We have a copy of the order to comply, and Transportation has advised that they cannot support the application, which I assume is a recommended to refuse it, that they say the proposed front yard parking space is not considered functional. We have in the additional materials support from 29 Walnut Crescent and from 40 and 60 Arcadian Circle and from 11 Ash Crescent. Speaker for this application is Jan Petrowski, and there's no other.
Yes, hi.
Good morning, sir.
Hi. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Yes. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So basically, what I was told by the clients, most people on the street have a front parking, and the reason being, you see, there's a very narrow driveway to the back. Then, at the time when this parking was constructed, actually, it's a gravel parking. My client was on a wheelchair. She had some surgery on her foot, so she was unable to drive back. Now she's better, but the parking stayed. So, and most neighbors, if you see the pictures I attached, most houses on the street have this parking. The only difference is their parkings are not legalized, and ours basically, well, somebody notified the city, and then an inspector came and asked us to make this parking legal. So, but like I said, most of these driveways were widened, and they have the extra parking space, which is not permitted, because if you have a single garage, you cannot have 20-foot parking in front of it, because it exceeds the maximum front coverage. So basically, you see what it is. It's basically our property. It's exactly what most houses on the street are doing. And like I said, it's permeable, it's gravel, and I don't know. There's probably 4 or 5 letters of support for this proposal.
Right, because Transportation is saying that front spot is, which measures 2 meters wide, is insufficient to be considered a parking spot. So
that's why.
Yeah.
You see, the thinking of my clients was, well, we don't want to take take the minimum so we can park the vehicles, you know. So that's basically 1 vehicle. So I know this parking is insufficient, but it's sufficient to park a vehicle at the front. So I don't know what to say.
Okay.
It's you see, it's a triplex. So basically, the people living in the building, they have a garage and they have parking at the end, but it's not. There's 2 parking spots in the garage, and this one is also required to satisfy the requirements for 1 parking per unit.
Okay.
Like I said, if you go on the street, there's like, I would say 70% of the houses on the street have these things. The parking at the front, it's been there for like many years, but we are the ones who just now have to legalize it.
Correct. So that you're saying that notwithstanding, they're saying that the space measuring 5 meters instead of 5.6 and 2 meters instead of 2.6 is indeed functional, and that there is space to maneuver to access that space.
It is, because it's very
Common
easy
condition.
access. You just drive in and you can step on the grass. It's not like a space in the tight garage where you cannot open the door. It's just basically you drive in and you don't block the driveway. So according to my clients, it's sufficient to park a small vehicle.
Okay. Thank you. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Petrowski?
Danny Beliff has just a quick question of design decision. Why did you not want to make your your parking spot wider? I see you have space. Was that because you're impacting on?
I will explain. Basically, okay, the history of this thing, that when my client got handicapped, she just asked to just bring some gravel and just create a parking spot. And she wasn't aware whether this parking was according to the required bylaws. She just decided, instructed the contractor to build a space so she could park, and she found it satisfying. So at the point, she didn't realize she couldn't park, and the second, she didn't know the required minimum size of the park. So I believe the smaller it is, the less, it's basically taking less space, provides more green space. So from the sense of looking, and it's better than asking for a required huge parking spot. So it's...
What you're saying is that the parking spot exists, it's gravel, and she doesn't want to spend extra money to make it wider as transportation services is recommending.
Well, if it's required, yes, we will do it. What we're saying, we're trying to make it as obtrusive as possible, but if the transportation requires for her to enlarge it, definitely we will do it.
Well, they did ask to enlarge it, but I'm just curious why you decided not to go in there, take their advice. Thank you.
Well, no, they didn't. You see, basically, I submitted the drawing as built, and then the zoning examiner told us that this parking wasn't large enough. But it's not the case. Basically the parking at the front is not permitted. So whether it's small or big, so we believe the smaller it is, the easier it will be to be approved. That's all.
Question for the applicant. Sir, you've got a shared right-of-way that goes into the rear yard. Like your neighbor is permitted to use your driveway and you're permitted to use their driveway. And I guess my question is, this proposed parking spot is not impacting on that permission to use the driveway?
No, absolutely not. Actually, received a letter from the next door driver, who was originally opposed. Now he constructed a little something similar. If you look at one of the pictures, and they send a letter of support, it's number 52. So basically, this driveway does not affect the mutual driveway in and out. I mean this parking spot. So it doesn't encroach onto the driveway.
Okay, and there's no other impact on anyone else. What you're doing is, from what I can tell, your client is providing livable area for people and needs to provide this parking to
Free parking. Yes,
a
large garage which was actually constructed and approved last year, so it can park 2 cars, but we still need 1 more parking spot. Of course, we can park theoretically in front of the garages, but once you park, you block somebody who is in the garage. So it's very inconvenient. So this parking was basically built. You see, honestly, my client wasn't aware because she saw parking almost at every, as you see at the pictures, at every house on the street. So she didn't know she was doing something wrong. Okay, so she basically constructed it, and then she was notified by the inspector, whoops, you mustn't have a parking at the front. So that's the history of this thing, you know. So blocking this parking will probably force, you know, people, they'll be parking on the grass because it's particularly in the winter with the snow. Once you start shoveling, there's not much room moving in, moving out. So this is why most people on the street have the parking in the front, because it's practical. You know, it's practical. You know, it's easily accessible. I know it's not supported, but see, they didn't cut the curb, so basically it should not affect the transportation, because it's not like some people just cut the curb, make the entry to the property wider. This entry as it is just stay the same, except that to the left they have a little spot, you know, gravel spot. So it's permeable. It doesn't contribute to the extra water, you know, from the rain. So it's the least obtrusive, and it's really necessary, you know. So I don't know what to say.
Okay, and actually, I just noticed, not to take us off topic, but the order to comply also deals with the second-story wood deck that was built without a permit, so no one has any issues with that. It looks like it's just the transportation common planning has not weighed in with respect to the second-story deck. So this application is also to legalize that. Okay.
Yes, it's basic. If I explain, basically, there's an existing steel fire escape, because that's required by law, a fire escape from the second, and my client replaced it with a new, so basically it stays within the same distance, and he didn't realize at the time that he should have moved this deck or platform 4 feet instead of 3 feet, which was existing. That basically the situation doesn't affect anybody because there's no property next door, and most of what you see is just a fence, and the platform is facing, you know, it's just the backyard of the building next to, so it doesn't affect any private, it's not being used as a balcony, it's basically constructed in case of fire.
Okay, but
So,
there is a variance.
and
on
there's
that.
lots of,
Yeah, that's variance 1. The rear
yes,
platform is 0.09 from the north side lot
yes,
line. So the question is, you said they actually reconstructed an existing fire escape and they just made it a little bigger. That's what you
yes.
said, right? So it doesn't seem to anyone has.
Yeah,
any
the other
issue.
one was actually rusting and falling apart, so they just made it made it better and safer.
Okay. Okay, committee members, any further questions, or someone ready for a motion? Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, subject to there being no other questions, I'm ready for a motion. These variances requested appear to be minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act. I don't see any impact on the public here or any of their neighbors, so I will move for approval. It doesn't look like there's any conditions required.
Correct.
No.
Okay, thank you for that motion, Mr. Palmer. Seconder for that motion.
Danny Bellissimo seconds the motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, have a wonderful day.
Have a wonderful Christmas, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. The next application is item number 18, number 3 Elliott Avenue. It's to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. And we have a revised notice sheet, revised plans, and waiver. There were 9 variances. There still are. 5 of them, however, have been reduced. So we have opposition from 25 Government Road, 5 Elliott. And we have registered to speak neighbors from 25 and 27 Government, and 5 and 1 Elliott. So the speakers, the parties who wrote in are here and present, as well as 2 other neighbors. So we'll hear first from the the agent, Fausto Cortese.
And through you, Mr. Chair, the
Chair?
neighbor
Yes.
at
Hang on a second. Thanks. Staff and then Mr. Palmer.
the neighbor at 5 Elliott, we tried to reach them, but we were unable to reach them.
Okay, we do have that neighbor's letter though. They were the ones, I think they requested specific changes to 3 of the variants, to revise 2 of them and eliminate the length variance. I don't know if it was their comments were based on the earlier plans or the revised plans, but we do have that, and we do have the 3 other neighbors. So let's hear first from Mr. Cortese, but first Mr. Palmer had a comment.
Yeah, can we just get clarification on the variances? Because there seems to be some conflict between revision page and the waiver, particularly variance 1 and variance 9. So maybe the applicant can start off with clarifying exactly what is being requested.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Good morning, committee.
Good morning, Mr. Cortese.
How are you?
We're great. So you've just heard Mr. Palmer. We're going to require a presentation because we have neighbors here with concerns. And if you can please walk through the changes you made and what's exactly before us. I have this yellow revised sheet. Urban First is requesting condition number 3 as well on this. So please, can you maybe walk through the revised notice and the changes to the variances, whether there's any conflict, and maybe then Mr. Palmer may have some questions for you as well at the end of your presentation. Okay, so let's reset the clock back to 5 minutes. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, committee. Yes, so in working with, we worked very closely with planning to come up with the proposal that you see in front of you, and the proposal you see in front of you is a result of 3 stages of revisions in order to get to this plan. The items that have been reduced are, number 1, we've reduced the required lot coverage from 37.26 to 37.57. And we've also, and that obviously correlates to a square footage, which is 88.45 square meters. The maximum height, we've reduced the overall eaves and height from 7.79 to 7.5 to come in line with previous or other approvals in the area. Also, same number 3, same thing, but on the rear, the eaves height or exterior wall to 7.5. Number 4, the overall depth. It's important to note that we've reduced it from 17.58 to 17.27. It's also important to note that zoning is taking this overall length from the face of the bay window and not from the face of the front wall. If they were to take it from the face of the front wall, that figure would actually be 16.7 meters. So because the bay window has a floor, or has a floor component, they're saying that represents our front wall. Number 5 remains unchanged. Number 6 remains unchanged. Number 7 remains unchanged. Number 8 is actually eliminated altogether, which is the reduction of the required front yard landscaping. Oh, just waiting for you guys to. Should I continue? Or should you want to wait till it catches up?
Is there something you'd like staff to put on the screen?
Oh, sorry, I'm just seeing that the screen is flickering. I was thinking that they're trying to bring it up as I speak about it. So
well, if you want something
number 8
up,
has been,
yeah, let us know what you want brought up.
Oh no, nothing. Okay. I'm fine. So number 8 has been eliminated. We are now achieving 50% of the front yard landscaping component. Number 9 represents gross floor area that has been reduced from 110.5 0.7% to 105.6%. And that equates to a square footage amount with 255.31. And then in terms of the Etobicoke bylaw, it's the soffit height of 7.79 has been reduced to 7.5 to come in line with planning can justify previous decisions. With that summary, I'd just like to make a couple important notes if I can, or bring some important notes to the table for committee.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, the applicant was referring to the numbers on his waiver, not what's on the screen right now.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna.
that's why it didn't match.
Yeah. Yes, sir. We
Oh, my
usually make the
apologies.
comments based on the actual revised notice, not by your zoning review numbering, but I assume committee members are able to figure that out. Is there any confusion that you'd like clarified, committee members, as the agent has gone through his presentation? What's before us is up on the screen. Okay, Mr. Cortese, you're done. You'd like to add anything else?
No, I'd like to make a couple points to the committee if I can.
Yeah, please. You have another 35 seconds.
Sure. It's important to note that this is the smallest lot in a 3-block radius of that I checked. It's only 6.1 meters wide, and the majority of the variances being requested are as a result of that. It's important to note that there's an existing house on the property, and we are improving on the existing setbacks of that home, side yard setbacks of that home. It is also important to note that under the current bylaw, only a 1,300 square foot home on 2 stories would be allowed to be built on this property, and that would include the garage area, which is quite small. And it is also important to note that in designing this home, the client had asked us to mitigate as many issues on the neighbors as possible. For this reason, we kept in line with the neighbor's front wall when we had the ability to move it further closer to the front property line in order to stay in line. We improved the side yard setbacks, and we tried to maintain the rear wall of the adjacent neighbor as good as we possibly could. We've also gone to a 3-story design in order to eliminate the need for a basement and in order to eliminate the need for a huge excavation so close to the existing neighboring property lines and building structures. We feel that these items are important to our client in his willingness and wanting to work alongside his neighbors and not affect their property in any given fashion. So those are important points to bring up in application. It's also important to note that, like I said previously, that the length of the dwelling has been taken from the bay window, and if it was taken from the main wall of the building, would be 16.7 meters and would fall within the bylaw requirements. I'm here to answer any other questions you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Cortese at this point, or we can hear from the neighbors? Okay, so the first neighbor registered to speak is 25 Government Road. There are two, I don't know who's speaking. There are 2 parties' names. We only hear from one party. So please identify yourself.
Hi, this is Ruth Watkins. Lynn
Right.
Whitmer had to drop off. He's my husband. I'm at 25 Government Road.
Yeah, and we do have your
so
letter as well.
The first thing,
Yeah, we have your letter.
yeah, okay, so these variances are not minor in nature, even with the changes that have just been described. And I want to mention that there has been no attempt by the agent to talk to the neighbors or to socialize the designs with the neighbors. So I'm not sure why he's talking about a willingness to work with neighbors, because we haven't heard from anybody on this. Specifically, he said that the agent said that they improved the side yard setbacks. I do not believe that's true. There is one part of the house that currently is approximately 12 inches from the property line, but there is also another part of the house, the newer part, that is much farther back from the property line. Now, the agent is looking at a side yard setback on the north side, which is 43 centimeters. I would be hard pressed to imagine a person walking down between a 6-foot fence on one side and a house on the other side when you've only got 43 centimeters. You're building a house that's going to be very, very difficult for the future homeowner to maintain. So that also the fact that it's the height that's proposed is 32% higher than the plan allows, that is not a minor variance. None of these are minor variances. There is a second floor deck at the back that will overlook the 6-foot property fence that we've got on the property line, totally eliminating our backyard privacy. So those are basically my concerns. But again, I do not believe that the agent has improved the side yard setbacks. 43 centimeters is really totally inadequate. And there's still a large part of the existing house that is much farther back than 43 centimeters. So it's a bit of double talk. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, 25, I see the houses on Government are sort of in a key lot situation to this house. There looks like there's, so the side of the newly proposed houses faces the rear yards of the 27 and 25 Government Road. Any questions for the speaker or the neighbor from 25? And we have her letter. Or we can go on to the next speaker. Okay, the next speaker, we don't have 5 ELLIOTT on the line, but we do have their letter. It was quite specific as to what their concerns are. So we'll hear now from 1 ELLIOTT Avenue, right next door.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Can you please state your name and address before you?
The name is Adam Kawoji. I'm speaking on behalf also of my wife, Irena. Number 1, ELLIOTT Avenue. I don't know whether you have it because I don't have a disability. You are sharing the screen. Would you be kind enough to show the plan of both of this the layout of the both houses? Number 1, and if you can do it, it will be great because it will show us better maybe the potential problems, actually real problems. Perfect.
Is that the plan you'd like up on the board, sir?
Yeah, let me just. Yeah, I see part of it.
Do we have something showing the adjacent
yes,
neighbors?
Thank you.
Perhaps,
Yeah, that's
sir?
excellent. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Well, you see probably more number 3 and 5, not that much of number 1. Our property, it's not quite true, Mr. Cortez, that yours is the smallest lot. Our lot is 50 by 50 feet. We have a small cottage-like 1-story house, also no basement. So our lot is the smallest. And then you can see what's happening there. We have 1 bedroom. We have 1 window to our bedroom. On your wall, you are proposing 8 windows, which really infringes our privacy. 8 windows of your north wall. And with that, I'm not mentioning the shadow. Your amazingly large, big, tall, high edifice will cast. The basement does not cast shadow, but your 3 stories, ground story and plus 2 stories, will cast a massive shadow on our very small backyard. We are strongly opposing, we are actually demanding that the setback lines are maintained as they should be, 1.2 meters on the north side. Well, I'm sure that number 5 property will have something to say about the setback. So it's 1.2, and also naturally with this goes the roof eaves. They go with it. So instead of your proposed 16 centimeters, which is just ridiculous, and we demand that it's, you maintain the 30 centimeters. So, but the main thing is really 1.2. As you can see, your plan B, I believe that you are not only an agent but also an architect of the building, and we do appreciate what the labyrinthian work you had to do inside the house. But right now, I don't know whether law, building code and law allows no access from no emergency exit or access from the backyard to the front yard. You cannot really move somebody with such a small setbacks. Yeah, it's actually potentially, I don't know, it's really not, in a sense, it's not our business, but definitely it might be our business when there will be emergency situation and you cannot transport the people from the backyard to the front yard because you have to do it through through the, the recreation room, mudroom, and garage. So it's a potentially dangerous situation. And of course, you have to maintain, even to build, finish your wall, and you maintain the wall, your north wall, you have to have access to our property, which we might not be obliged to provide. So those two things, we demand 1.2 meters on the north side, 30 centimeters for the roof eaves, and of course, we are disappointed by the general volume of the building. And I think would impact our privacy negatively. And it's just really sad, am I right, that you did not took the care of the scale of the adjacent buildings while designing your very large property. Anyway, I think that's it. I think I'm staying within 5 minutes. Yeah, disappointment. That's really one thing, and then our not so gentle demand to maintain the setbacks the way they should be.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions for the neighbor at 1 Elliott? And if no such questions, let's move on to the next speaker. The last speaker, neighbor with concerns, and then we'll go back to the applicant, and that's the neighbor at 27 Government Road. Again, we have two parties. Like to know who is going to be addressing, making the presentation.
Good morning, Speaker. Oh, good morning, Speaker. My name is Edward Wong. I live at 27 Government Road. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good morning. Yes, I'm, as I said, I want to share, as I said, in terms of the situation, I kind of confer, I don't want to get into a lot of detail because a lot of my neighbors share the same sentiment. Certainly, my concern is safety in the neighborhood because it is a smaller block. We've got safety concerns. I agree with Adam about the fire hazards there because of the yard setback, which is 42 centimeters. There's not a lot of room down there. Even the windows on the design, they're going to have to be modified for sure because of that concern. The other thing is we got a lot of young kids on the street, a lot of kids. The construction will be of concern to the safety and family of a lot of our kids on the street. That's going to happen for sure if there is going to be construction. So that has to be considered also as well in the situation. The other point is the height. I think the height, I agree with my neighbor, 25 is way above what's of a variance actually. I think 32%. And also, we were really not consulted in this whole process at all, in terms of what was going to go on at all. This came out of nowhere, so it would have been great to have consultation about this whole process, in terms of what is going on. So it would be in terms of the best interest of all parties involved here, okay?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wong. Any questions for Mr. Wong before we move back to the applicant for his rebuttal? Okay, if not, we'll go back to Mr. Cortese to answer those questions. And
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Tyler.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
I just wanted to put something. There's been a couple of mentions about the height of the building, and in fact, there are no variances requested for the height of the building. It's being built in accordance with the height requirements of the zoning bylaw. People are referring to the soffit height, which is not the overall total height of the building. So in my mind, it's the overall height of the building that creates an impact consideration, not the soffit height.
Okay.
Just an observation.
Yep. Thank you for pointing that out. Very, very valid point. Mr. Cortez, and your appears to be the concern about during construction, we don't deal with that. There are rules to be followed and issues that the neighbors can deal with to make sure that the construction itself, we deal with the planning issues of the built form. And looks like a big concern here, Mr. Cortese, in your rebuttal is why on a new house you're going with such small side yards. That seems to be a big concern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the committee member for pointing out that we are not going for overall height variance, and it is a request for front and rear wall height that is being requested. The existing north side setback is 0.35 meters, and the existing south side setback is 0.37 meters. It's also important to note that on 5 Elliott, their existing side yard setback is 0.52 meters. Now, the existing home, when I was speaking about in terms of width and smallest lot in the area, I was obviously speaking about front width of the lot, or front face width of the lot. It is 6.1 meters. The inside inside width of this dwelling is 15 feet. If we were to maintain the required side yard setbacks on this property, the interior wall-to-wall dimension would be 10 feet for the inside dwelling. So we have increased the existing side yard setbacks to 0.42 meters and 0.43 meters. In terms of the windows on the sides, we will design according to the OBC. We will make sure that if they do not meet limiting distance calculations, that we will protect them or eliminate them. I think that covers the neighbors' concerns. I think I've addressed them as well as I could. We work with planning. We addressed all of planning's comments as best we could. We reduced and eliminated a number of variances prior to you guys even seeing them. And I think the plan is as best as we can in dealing with a lot of this that is so narrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, panel members, any questions, follow up for Mr. Cortese or any of the neighbors for that matter? Or was someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
Danny Bellissimo would like to make an observation and weigh in with a motion if there are no further questions. This is one of those difficult situations where the narrowness of the law really does impact what happens inside. And I agree with the design architect that you look at the layout, even on the second floor of the bedroom, stairs and corridor, there's very little space left over, even for a bathroom. The bathrooms are very small and modest. They're like 6 feet deep. And so I find this a very difficult situation with regards to the consequences of the site. It's unfortunate that the architect did not consult with the neighbors. I think that would have been helpful today. But I have to agree with him that if he went by the requirements of zoning, that there would be a trailer built here, not a house. So I'd like to make a motion based on the revision notice we had, to find that the variances are minor in nature and move for approval on the condition forestry, it's condition number 3. I believe that's the only condition.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. Do we have a seconder for Mr. Bellissimo's motion? Mr. Taylor, any comment? I see you had your hand up before Mr. Bellissimo made his motion. Okay, so we have a mover, a seconder, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, so I'm going to break the tie in favor of granting the application. The motion carries 3-2. The application is approved. It is a difficult application, occasioned mainly because of the small lot, and that's why the FSI is coming in at more than double what's permitted, but it appears, and we have no comments from community planning. They seem fine with this, and so the motion carries 3-2. Thank you, neighbors, and thank you, applicant. Okay, and we can now move on. We have the last item of the morning session is item 20, because item 19 has been deferred. 22 Spring Garden Road. It's an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling, a 2-story rear addition, a second-story rear platform, a covered front porch, and a covered rear deck. We have the revised notice page. There were 5 variances. There are now 4 variances. Variance 4 for the flat roof height has been eliminated. We have the revised plans and waiver. We have a planning report for information. And we have in the additional materials, presentation materials, and a petition and support, which perhaps we can get up on the screen. And we only have one speaker, the agent, Patrick Cott.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Good morning.
Hello?
Yes.
Good morning to the members of the committee. My name is Patrick Hott, and I am the acting agent for Yanka Slugnova of 22 Spring Garden Road. If you can flip over to the next, I don't see the presentation on screen here.
Yep, can we get that up? Thank you. There you go.
So if you can just, you can skip through the second page, it's just some information there. We're asking for 4 variances. The first one's for building length, second one's for building depth, third one's for side yard setback, and the last one is for the rear yard balcony. We did ask for 5, but then we revised the plans according to, I guess, planning consultation, which is the next page there. So we removed, I don't remember what variance it was, but it was basically the height for the flat roof.
Yep.
That was removed because simply we reduced the area of flat roof to under 33%. And that was removed. And then we reduced the variance for the balcony from 11.88 square meters to 8.9 square meters. So that's what was reduced. If you can move to the next page. The building length, the existing building is 15.8 meters, as you can see. The front covered porch counts because there's basement space below. And then the back portion is basically the garage extension and the balcony. So if you can skip to the next page. Due to the nature of the existing building, the owners really wanted to save costs and really preserve the neighborhood by building on top of what's existing already. And the existing building's kind of non-compliant, as you can see already. The existing back, the back of the house right now is 30.01 square meters. And we basically added 3 meters to the back to make it, I think the variance asked for 34 square meters, but on the plan it does show 33 square meters. Or sorry, meters.
I think it's 33.41 is the building depth.
Yeah, so we would like to maintain that as per the zoning notes, because that's what the zoning examiner kind of calculated. So, but we're showing less, obviously, than that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so next page. The reason why we're asking for a side yard setback, the existing house does comply, but we do want to create like a jog so that the entire side isn't just a flat face. We want to create some character. So we jutted the middle portion out by 27 centimeters, which kind of creates a more visual, a more appealing visual effect to the house. And the last variance is the rear yard balcony. As you can tell, it's not really protruding to the neighborhood. We were gonna put like a roof there initially, but it was just a little bit bulky, and they wanted to make use of that flat space there if they were to do a flat roof. And it could be further reduced to meet this 4 square meters, but it'd be nice to have a larger area for some furniture and stuff like that.
Okay.
And we have neighborhood support on the next slide here from 6 neighbors. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Thank you. So I'll just point out again, it appears that the planning report for information points out that the subject lot is a corner lot, has an irregular shape and a unique configuration which triggers the increased variance for building depth at 33.41. And staff notes this is a technical variance due to the unique configuration of the lot. Okay, community members, any further questions? No other speakers. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Cott, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
Danny Belismo has a technical question for information. Could staff put on drawing main floor plan Z02.3? Yeah, could you zoom in a little bit more on that to the covered platform? This is more of a learning process as well. I think the committee members need to learn some things sometimes. A question of the member, sorry, the presenter. The covered porch, that's a huge covered porch with a big roof. Does that impact on any of the variances that are before us today?
Absolutely not. It's just the one at the back.
Great. Okay.
So,
I'm just curious
yeah, if you see the garage, it's directly above the garage.
It's behind the powder room garage, and it's like a covered porch with part of a large roof that goes on top. I'm just curious if that impacted on any of the, because that's outdoor space.
Correct, yeah.
Right, okay, just wanted for clarification. Thank you for that. It's very interesting design.
No problem. Yep.
Okay, any further questions for the agent, or is someone ready for a motion? And there are, I don't think, there's no conditions.
If there are no other questions, Danny Bellisman's ready to make a motion on the revised submission. I find that the variances are minor in nature and move for approval. I don't believe there are any conditions that I can see here. No.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. Second for Mr. Bellissimo's motion. Ms. Ruddick, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Cott. And thank you, members. And we're now stand adjourned until the 1 p.m. Afternoon session. Have a good lunch.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.